had so much fun making these mixed media birds using my decorative paperworks that I decided to make two more. So I'm starting by going through my decorative paper stash made with watercolor techniques and textures, and I am tearing out two body shapes, just kind of getting a rough bird-like feel and really letting the paper inspire me. And then using a glue stick, I'm gluing those down to sections of my sketchbook. I mapped out 4 by 6 inch sketchbooks because I was planning on using these artworks for a postcard art show that I ended up not participating in the end. So that's why they are a predetermined size. And then I'm just adding more and more collage details. So focused on finding papers that would work with each body for wings and kind of letting the papers and the paper shapes kind of help me determine what type of bird each of these is going to turn into. And I found this really beautiful paper that I created using shaving cream marbling technique, and I decided to use that for the ground for the bird on the right. So I'm jumping back and forth between the two artworks, kind of getting them sorted out as far as the collage element of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and go in with different mixed media techniques once I have their basic collage forms established. So I found two wings for this one that kind of has an owl feeling to it. And then I wanted to give this one really big eyes. So rather than draw the eyes in, I decided to cut out circles to create the basic eye shape. And now I'm kind of deciding, do I want to have smaller eyes like this? Do I want to go with a larger size? So I decided to cut out both different sizes and then to kind of compare them and kind of see which one felt right for this bird as it's gradually coming to life and its character is making itself known. And the larger eyes were a better fit for this one. So now I'm trying to figure out beaks because they're birds, they need to have beaks. So I'm going through and using some different sections of my yellow paper, kind of cutting different fun beak shapes and kind of seeing what works best for each one. The interesting thing about the way I go through this process is it's really the mixed media details that come after the collaging that really bring it to life and help pop the forms of whatever the artwork is. So if you're trying something like this for the first time, you just have to kind of know that it's going to be a constantly evolving artwork, and just to kind of trust your intuition and your gut and let that be a driving force, and that as you keep adding more and more and more to it, it's going to make more and more sense. So I've got an eyeball on the right for that bird. I don't love it, but I know that, like I said, it's going to change and evolve. So I'm just going to let it be that for now. And then I'm trying to figure out what kind of beak this bird wants to have. So letting the collage speak to me and deciding how that's going to go. I tried something super silly, didn't love it, but it's good to just really play and experiment. And the great thing about collaging is you can cut the pieces out, you can lay them down, you can move them around and kind of figure out what is the best thing for it by playing and letting the artwork kind of resolve itself. Now I'm going in with Posca pen. I love adding Posca to my collage because it is such a nice, bold, opaque element to it. So that kind of use that to define the beak and the wing. And then I'm going in with colored pencil just to kind of lighten up some different areas to help to define the eye a little bit more, give him a little bit of a brightness on his belly. Colored pencil is a wonderful addition to your collage because you can have complete control over how opaque or how transparent it goes on there. And it gives you a lot of flexibility and options to add even more to whatever collage papers you're using. Just continuing to go back and forth between the two birds, defining their eyes, their wings, whatever makes sense in the moment, and really just starting to bring them to life. And then the other thing I've started doing is being a lot looser in my mark making. So really just having fun with it and not feeling so precious and like I have to be so controlled with the lines that I add. And then playing around with different pen thicknesses too. So using fine liner here to create the legs for the bird on the right, but using that thicker Posca pen to do some of the feather details for the left side of the bird and some line definition on the wing. And then just jumping back and forth between colored pencil, fine liner, paint pens. The great thing about mixed media is you can just keep having that play as it kind of comes together, but you can also work with whatever art supplies you have on hand, and as few or as many as you like, because as long as you're combining two together, you've got mixed media. And I started with collage, so that was my first art material. And then I've really loved adding some texture to my textured papers. So I decided to go in with some red Posca and just add some dot texture. It's super subtle, but it just gives it a little something extra to spice it up. And then doing some feathering detail on the wings for the bird on the left. And then adding in some little, feathers on his head. Really kind of playing around with what is drawn in and what is collaged on. And then at this point, I was really ready to start defining some shapes of this bird and really let it start to get a graphic element and pop to it. And this is where I really loosened up. I just kind of let it be wibbly wobbly, traced around some of my collage forms, but also let it be super loose. I really liked the delicate line of the fine liner for the bird's legs on the right, so I mimicked that on the left, but started playing around with how I addressed the legs so that it fit the kind of character I was creating. And then colored pencil proved to be a really great one for the one on the left, just to kind of establish the ground and also to put in some value and color pops for the legs and feet. And then just adding another little element to it so that there was a little bit of shading without being terribly particular about it. And then good old friend Colorless Blender came out and kind of helped merge my yellow and my red-orange together for the legs. And then just going in with different colored pencil details just to kind of give it a little bit more definition and form and kind of have it pop a little bit, and just to add even more character to the textured paper that I began with. And warming it up a little bit by layering on some yellow orange. And then just I'm constantly jumping around, right? Like I'm constantly kind of looking for different areas where I can add new things, working back and forth. I love working back and forth between multiple artworks in a single session, especially when they're small like this, because oftentimes something I do on one inspires something that happens on the other, which is really fun. And then just treating the ground differently was really fun, and kind of pulling out the colored pencil colors that mirrored the marbled paper and just kind of giving that even more boldness and vibrancy, and layering the colored pencil over the textured paper was really nice. And then adding a little bit of shadow there in the colorless blender just to kind of give it a little brightness. And then I did decide that my pencil lines were really dark, so I decided to lighten those up with my eraser. It didn't work so great where I'd already kind of laid down some media, but that's okay. And in the end, I decided to cut them out because they were going to go into a potential art show that I was thinking of entering. So just a couple more final touches just to give it a little extra something, and then they're all done. I really, really love these birds. This was an incredibly fun project to work on. I love that I did 4 of them all together. You can see my video for my earlier 2 on my channel. These are the newest 2 added to the Feather Friend bunch, and just incredibly fun. It's a wonderful way to work with mixed media. It's super low stakes and creative, and I hope you liked it. If so, give the video a like. Definitely click subscribe so you can check out my newest video, and I'll see you next time.